What's up, everybody? My name is Vince Oldry, back with another Mastermind Advisor podcast. I'm here with Josh Woodward, who is the other half of the mastermind.
The more important half, if I may say so myself.
Yeah. That's up for debate. But
Yeah.
But today, so last week we went through like different ads, and you were gone, so I did all that work, putting all those ads together.
I appreciate that too, by the way. You nailed it. You did great work. So.
And then I think you said, yeah, you'll do the next part where you'll get all the funnels, and you didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's gonna have to be pushed to the next podcast.
I'm just throwing blame on you here.
Yeah, listen, I was out last week, so this week was catch up, right? Advisors come first with their marketing, so that's what we had to do. That's my excuse, anyways.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I should have helped with that. I didn't. We looked at it. We made a valiant effort, but to do it right, we want to make sure that we go through, the funnels together. But what takes the time actually is, it's not hard to find the funnels. It's just I want to make sure that we block out information that to protect people here. So
exactly.
So what we're going to do, though, is talk about when to do marketing, when and where. And I was actually just on the phone with an advisor that does a lot of seminars, and he was asking me about our seminars. Do we do them during the summer? Do we do them in the winter? That kind of thing. He wants to bring on like 2 more advisors, so he's trying to figure out how do we, how often do you do a certain location? Can you saturate the area? On the webinar side, what's kind of the results you should expect? Like how many appointments you should get, and how much ad spend should you put into it to get that? What's the geographical area that you should be using? So we'll go through all those things here, or as much as we can. Last podcast was maybe a little too long, so we're going to try to cut this one down to at least, half an hour at the most. But
yeah,
I can talk a lot too.
Yeah, we know that. We know that. No, this is perfect timing though. Yeah, the advisor you talked to today is not the only one asking this now that summer's coming up. So really a perfect time to kind of bring this in and start talking about what do seminars look like in the summer. Is there other marketing we can do outside of that? Things like that. So this is probably actually perfect timing.
What I love is that there is the mindset that people go away in the summer.
Yep.
Which is great for me because I'm the one that still does the seminars. It lowers my my cost per registrant and cost per appointment. I know, Josh, you have the data. You track the data.
Yep.
And our cost per registrant goes down a lot in the summer.
Yep.
And then it goes back up.
Yeah, it's a complete flip mindset. I think, like you just said, a lot of advisors will stop the marketing in the summer. One, they probably like vacations, taking a little more time off, things like that. So when we actually run the marketing now, it actually goes down. It's a complete flip of what most people think actually happen.
Yeah, I just think it's so strange. I get people want to go on their own vacations. Mm-hmm. The guy that I was talking to today, he doesn't breathe. He's so busy. He works nights, he works weekends. I'm like, you got to change that. And I think that's a whole another podcast where we talk about, practice management.
Yep, optimization.
But because when he's trying to take on 2 more advisors, I'm like, well, wait a minute, you can't even get time for yourself. So, that doesn't really make sense. But when it comes to the advertising, though, you've tracked. I know you have the whole spreadsheet. You have the spreadsheet, and if you want, you can try to find it. Because it might be kind of cool to put it up for people that are watching the video. So you can go to our YouTube channel and you can watch this podcast. And I would recommend watching it too, if you can, for the ads that we did last week, and for the the following podcasts that we'll do when we show you the different funnels. But the data is there. It's pretty clear that I want to even say it was at least a third, or no, probably it dropped like a third as far as the cost went.
Yeah. So peak season when everyone's running seminars, that January, February, March, April. It's kind of like the peak season. Everyone's running about seminars. They all have the 2023 ambition, kind of like going to the gym, right? The first 3 months are the strongest. And then it teeters off in the summer. But like those first 3 months, average cost is like, close to like $50, would be like our goal to shoot at, cost per like household. In the summer, it can drop down to 30, 30, 25, 30 on that. So a little bit more than a third, but
yeah.
Yeah. I'm the marketer, not the financial advisor. So numbers aren't the best with me. But yeah, if we look at those numbers, it actually goes down quite a bit. So the hard part is coming up and follow up and all that stuff. But even show rate increases because most of these classes are in the evening, things like that. So even if people are worried about show rate because it's a beautiful day, it's actually easier than trying to travel through a snowstorm. So
yeah, attendance isn't bad. From doing all the seminars myself, the attendance is good. Even the webinars, people are like, should I stop doing the webinars? No, the webinars are great during that time. When webinars or even seminars aren't very good to do is anytime around a holiday. So like I always try to stay a week away from 4th of July and a week after 4th of July. Because if you do a seminar the week before 4th of July, people will show up. But then when you try to book the appointment, you're not going to be able to book the appointment the next week. So don't do it the week before 4th of July. Then obviously if you're going to try to do one during 4th of July that week, you're not going to have good results either because you're not going to have people that show. People are, at least in Minnesota, people are going to their cabin, right? They're not, that's their time that they're going to take off. And for the most part, we'll see a major drop off as far as appointments then or seminar or show or even webinars. Webinars, people won't show up to those either during that time. So we'll slow down our ad spend during that time frame and even shut it off for our webinars, but then turn it right back on and everything goes really well. So let's talk about like geographical area, that kind of thing. So if we're doing seminars, what are we trying to target when we're doing seminars?
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of people think it's extremely complicated and hard to kind of have that demographic figured out. But what we do is usually a 10-mile radius around the venue. We're targeting 55 and older. We don't really do a whole lot of targeted demographics. A lot of it can be based off pixels and whatnot, but we can talk about that later. And then we let the ad copy do its work. So if we're looking at demographics, it's just a mile radius. We try to target between, like Facebook will give you, or a lot of the ad platforms will give you like an estimated audience size. And so we try to get between 30 to 100,000 of targeted people that we're going to hit with those ads. So 10 to 15 miles of it has to increase. Some places, like I know some of his locations will actually decrease the radius because it's a populated area. So, I mean, pretty straightforward for demographics, but that's what our campaigns would look like.
Now, one of the cheat codes that you haven't talked about is the lookalike audience. So one of the benefits that we have since we've been doing this for so long, we've gathered so much data, is we can, instead of having to do targeted demographics based on how much money they have and that kind of thing, which you can't do in Facebook anymore, what you are allowed to do is use a lookalike audience. So we have a database full of people that we say, hey, Facebook, go after people that are similar to this. And that's how we are able to do our targeting and have good high net worth prospects go to our seminars and our webinars because of that.
Yeah, that is, it's a big benefit on all the campaigns that we launch. We're launching between 30 to 40 campaigns a week. So we're able to collect a lot of data and figure out what's our ideal audience or lookalike audience. But even if you're an advisor and you have a small, you're just kind of getting started, the cool thing is you can take your prospects or your current clients, take, the top 10%, right? Because that'd be your ideal client, your A clients, is that what advisors usually call them. Throw them into Facebook. Facebook will create a lookalike audience, even with a small list of 100
What's
to
the
200.
minimum?
I believe it's 100. They keep lowering it.
Okay, I know they do say I thought 1,000 was kind of
it's the recommended
before. Okay,
yeah, 1,000.
And then it's 10,000's even the better range. It's just like anything else. If you have a larger sample size, you're going to be able to find more similarities that are going to be more common, which, I'm excited. This is a side note, like, the program that we have coming up, I finally got the API key for that. So we can launch, we're going to be able to know how much, like, automate it. We're going to automate where we're going to be able to see how much money they have, like people that are, what they have for assets, what their interests are. Do they like golf? Do they like, fishing, outdoors, kids, grandkids, net worth, income. We're going to be able to have that automatically go into our system once someone registers for the seminar or the webinar, which I'm really excited about. That's all going to be out of it. Anyway, so that's a total sidebar.
We can go all day on that.
I know that's been a work in progress for 5-6 months now, and he just sent me the API key so I can get our programmer to work on that. But that's the one thing, though, I think is a bit of a cheat code in Facebook is that lookalike audience, and you should use that lookalike audience, especially if you have clients. Now, the downfall, like speaking with a lot of advisors, I'd say a lot of them do not have a list, like, because you need your email, like you need their email and their phone number. You need as much information as possible. And I know that a lot of them don't actually like have a giant list. So just like Josh said, if you have a small list, it's better than nothing. Mm-hmm. But be careful with your list too, because if there are people you don't really want to work, like don't just put a list together of all of your clients, because there might be even some clients you don't want to work with going forward. So separate those out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, take your A clients. Don't focus on the B and C and target those individuals, right? Just so you have a bigger list. That ends up hurting you more than anything. And the cool thing is you can put, and this is all kind of in the weeds of it all, but it's huge and it kind of sets the difference. But then you put your Facebook pixel on there, and then that continues to grow, and you kind of grow this. It's quote unquote, Vince calls it the invisible list, because it really is. It's like a back end list that you can end up targeting, and we'll do that with our advisors that work with us, right? Where they might not have a big list, but we'll throw their pixel on their ads, and so we're building their pixel with our pixel, and it's kind of like a cool way for them to grow their quote unquote invisible list.
So what a pixel, just to help people understand what a pixel is, it's like a cookie in a website. It's a tracking cookie essentially. And what it does is if anyone engages with the ad or goes to our landing page, Facebook will know who that is. But maybe they don't put their information in. Maybe they don't put their email, phone number, or their name in. But even though we don't have their information, Facebook knows that they engaged with that ad. And so then that's what they're collecting. Now, that's why it's an invisible list. Facebook doesn't tell us who actually engaged with that ad. But you'll notice that your pixel, your this invisible list, is going to be much higher or much bigger than your other list of emails and names and that kind of thing. But if they're engaging with your content, then you want to, again, target people that are engaging. And what we do, beyond our seminars and our webinars, is we do retargeting marketing, which is where, hey, if we know someone's engaging with our stuff, well, that means we just spent money on someone engaging with it. Let's retarget those people by doing different types of ads. Maybe it's our PowerPoint, maybe it's our podcast, maybe not this podcast, maybe it's my financial planning podcast. Yeah. Different funnels that we try to bring them in, because maybe they don't want to go to a seminar. And historically speaking, and this isn't always, but historically speaking, the majority of people that sign up for a seminar or even a webinar, but the majority that sign up for a seminar, if they don't show, more than likely they will never show, even if you get them to sign up in the future. So you got to find a different way to engage with them. They might want to engage with a webinar then. Maybe they want to engage with your podcast. Maybe they want to engage with, maybe you have a radio show. There's so many different things. But what I'll say is, just because you have someone that registers does not make it a good lead yet. You have to get them to do other things, and we've talked about this before, but you have to get them to go through a process before you can book that appointment. So we talked about the geographic area for seminars. What about for webinars?
Webinars are nice, actually. A little bit more fun. So like with seminars, we have a 3-week window, right? 3 weekends to make sure we run. So there's testing that is slightly done within those times, but you stick with kind of the format that you know that works. Webinars are a different animal. It's fun because some advisors that we work with will target just around their office, 50, 60 miles around their office, and they're trying to get people in. Very targeted individuals. Maybe they get less appointments, but their appointments are in the office. Other advisors will target states, big states or nationwide. And this is kind of where, as a marketer, it's fun because you can really test out different demographics, targeting interests, pixels, the retargeting aspect of things. You get to play with it more, right? Because they're running constantly. It's pre-recorded, so it's something that as a marketer you look at almost every day and make adjustments, or can make adjustments to the ads. Maybe every day is a little excessive, but at least once or twice a week. To kind of adjust those demographics. So kind of the same format. If we're going to talk about demographics, it's going to be 55 and older. We'll target certain income, or not income, but like interest groups. Like, are they interested in estate planning? Okay, that's the estate planning book. Interested in taxes and retirement. Okay, let's try the taxes and retirement ebook guide. So you get to play with those a little bit more and optimize those ads. So they can fluctuate, but that's what the demographics would look like for that. Same thing, utilize a pixel, utilize a lookalike audience. Those will be key, but same sort of format, except for the radius can now be expanded because things can be more digital. Advisors that are doing statewide or a couple states, they're not coming into the office, but they're going to hop on a Zoom, right? You have the appointment sequence. We start doing those virtual appointments that we've talked about and learned from Vince on his process.
Now, the webinar process that we do is a little bit different than maybe the standard webinar process because we're not running a webinar like we would run a seminar. So it's not like we're offering this one-time webinar that people can come to as far as the ad goes. We're doing a totally different process on the webinar because we used to run, the direct, like after COVID hit, we couldn't do seminars, right? So then we ran right to webinars, and we just do the same thing where we'd run an ad to go to a landing page that would then go to then they would watch the webinar, and then I'd try to book the appointment, and it just wasn't very good. You could get a lot of people there. You could book some appointments. They just weren't very committed, and they weren't probably the best quality. Now, I had a ton of leads through that process, but what we're doing here is a little bit different, where we're running the ads constantly throughout the month versus when we do a seminar. We have the 3 weeks, like Josh said. So we're spending the majority of the money over the weekend, Thursdays through Mondays, and then for the first 2 weekends. And then with the webinars, it's different. We're running the ads 24/7 essentially. We're spending, $10, $20 a day every single day. Maybe it's $50 a day every single day. And then because it's automated, they will pick the next webinar that's available. So the webinar runs on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that's it. I think it's at 11:30 and
6:30.
6:30.
Yep.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we make it look like that's the only time they can go watch it, but that we don't have to spend $2,500 in one sitting, right? We spread that money out, and the nice part about that is it spreads out the meetings, so you're not doing a seminar and you got 8 or 10 appointments right then and there. Now, the other thing I was talking with Rich about was he was doing some dinner seminars, or actually they were lunch seminars, and I'm like, I don't want to do lunch seminars with you. Like, go do that with somebody. Just because it's he'll get these 8 appointments. He said he got 8 appointments, but how much of them show is completely different. So I asked him, you do these educational workshops at the library. You got 8 appointments. What's your show rate? He's like 90%. I'm like, that's really good, right? If I were to talk to another advisor that's doing dinner seminars, they're going to say somewhere between 30 to 40% show rate after they book an appointment. And so that's the major difference. And I know there's some people that listen to our podcast that are doing our program, and they would probably agree. There's a guy that I know very well that used to do a ton of dinner seminars, and then it was like I was the redheaded stepchild because he's like, no, everyone's telling me to do dinner seminars, and you're the only one telling me not to do dinner seminars. But now I'm a believer. I won't do any more dinner seminars. I'm a believer in it. And so I think you know who I'm talking about, and I know they listen to the show. But he was one that he's like, well, I'll try it. And then all of a sudden, that's all he's doing now. And he's been doing a good job with it. But that's the difference between, when we're running seminars and webinars, you can spread out the ad spend with the webinars. And the seminars, you're like, all right, I got $2,500 to spend. It's got to fill up the both nights, the 2 rooms, or the 2 nights. And then versus the webinars, we'll spread that out. And you can do multiple states, 1 state, a small geographical area. The difference is going to be the cost per lead, right?
Yep.
And the reason why that is because the way that Facebook auctions your ad, right? So Facebook will offer your ad out there, but you're competing against other people that are advertising. Not just might be Budweiser or whoever, right? Like that's competing for the ad space. So when you have a broader group of people to send ads out to, okay, they're not trying to maybe hit, certain ads aren't trying to always hit the inner city, right? So they're trying to, when I have my webinars run, I'll run the entire state of Minnesota. I have a lot of clients I've never met that are in northern Minnesota. They just, they never get serviced. So that's why that works, because no one's actually going after them.
Yeah, I mean, we really could do a whole nother show on this, but I don't want to go off on a rant. But I feel like that's like one of our biggest difficulties is explaining to an advisor that we shoot for quality shows over quantity and numbers. Like, I think the one difference is I'll talk to advisors all the time. They're like, man, I only got 6 appointments. This other program, I got 12. And then I'm like asking like, okay, well, how many of that 12 showed? And they're like, well, I had 3 show. I was like, all right, how many quality? And they're like, well, I might be able to close 1 of those. I was like, okay, well, now let's look at our 6 appointments, right? We got you less appointments, but how many showed? Oh, I had 5 show. Okay. And how many of them are quality? Well, I might be able to write with 3 of them or 4 of them. So like the hard part is they're getting mad up the upfront because the numbers aren't quite there. Even think for like dinner seminars, just like you kind of brought up. And this would be a rant, and I can't get on the box right now. But like the key at the end of the day is how much business are you writing? Are you having a positive ROI? We got to get out of this mindset of bragging about how many appointments we booked or how full our calendar is. It's more, I had 6 appointments. My calendar is not that full, but guess what? I wrote 1 million or 2 million this month. So it's like, I'm going to get off the soapbox now, but I feel like that's something just to bring home. It's we shoot for quality over quantity on anything and everything that we do.
So I think the part of the issue is advisors we all have egos, and we're always worried about what we look like in front of people. So if we don't have a full room, we feel like we're not successful, right? If we don't have 30, 40 people there, we feel like why would they want to talk to this guy? So a little bit of that gets in our head, right? When I do my education workshops, I'm happy with 8 to 12 households because they are engaging with me, meaning that they're listening to me very, very closely. They know I'm not trying to sell them anything, and they know that. And the reason why a lot of them work with me is because I'm actually legitimately trying to help them and not trying to sell them anything, okay? And I'll get that compliment all the time. And I take a slow process to it, but they're the ones asking me if they can, what are the next steps versus me trying to get them to sign the dotted line. So it's not that, dinner seminars don't work, but that's where all the FMOs, all the, big vendors push because, especially the mail companies, because initially your thoughts are if you don't have people there, you're not closing business. And this is a numbers game, okay? This is always going to be a numbers game, but a numbers game based on quality. Mm-hmm. You can't just be in a numbers game of how many people you got to sit down at the workshop. Because if you got a bunch of people sitting down at the workshop, if the quality is not there, it doesn't matter. That's why the Social Security workshops were so popular, right? Because they could get so many people in the room, but they weren't quality.
Yeah.
Or they had no intent to hire you for your services. So there's no point to doing those, and that's why we focus on certain topics. We focus on not doing, obviously, dinners. We focus on the webinars. And we take a longer approach to it because selfishly, I built this for myself because I have my own financial planning firm. So I built it that way because I knew what I wanted. I was sick of chasing leads. I was sick of paying for different programs, sick of paying for dinners, sick of my wife liked the free wine, but I had to tell her, hey, it's not free wine because I still had to pay for it because I didn't have the people show up. I still had the minimum.
Yeah.
So,
That was the family vacation that covered that wine purchase, right? So, yeah.
So, all right. So, as far as scheduling goes, to wrap it all up here, when to do marketing? Well, you should do it all the time. Okay. You should, and what we do is we do 2 campaigns, which is about 4 workshops a night, or 4 workshops a month.
Yep.
We'll continuously do our webinars, which we constantly do. We have an email drip program that's going constantly. There's an email that goes out every other day to people that puts them through our webinar. We have retargeting ads that we're doing. So we're constantly marketing, but people are constantly seeing our stuff, and that's why we're actually having like a really good growth year because a lot of that stuff is coming to fruition right now. So always be marketing. And then the next part is, if we're going to be really specific, don't do seminars or webinars around a holiday.
Yep. The week of and the week before.
The week of and the week before, which I don't know if you remember this or not, but I know Dale did one around a holiday. I read him the Riot Act, but
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
it wasn't, well, might have been,
Hard to forget those days.
Might not even be like that holiday. Might have been like Halloween. I'm like, don't do one like the night of Halloween or like.
Yeah. Your example is 4th of July, but this goes for every holiday, any major holiday: 4th of July, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Christmas and New Year's, right? It's like during those times, just don't market or market your seminars.
The funny thing is, there is an advisor we work with that did a seminar on New Year's Day, and he had a ton of people there.
Maybe I'm wrong on New Year's Day. Maybe everyone's New Year's resolutions like, all right, I need to get my retirement in order. Here we go. Day of. Let's go.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, when I found out he had one scheduled on New Year's Day, I'm like, well, he just shot himself in the foot. And then he had like a packed room. I'm like, what the heck? Maybe it's because people had time off. I don't know. So I would still prefer not to do it during New Year's Day. What else?
It's a risk.
What else? Geographics.
Geographics,
Radius.
just know the key thing is creating a lookalike audience first and foremost. So you're making sure you're targeting the right people. Make sure you're doing radiuses. So if you're gonna run your own marketing around a seminar, 10 to 15 miles, depending on the audience size, and it will literally show you estimated audience size. And you can have segmented groups, but it's not needed to make that difference. If you have a lookalike audience, have that pixel in place, things like that.
Now, we're not talking about mail, so we do everything digitally. Like, we are only doing Facebook ads. I haven't done mail in 6 years now, so...
Still surprising that some people do mail, but I know it works in some places, but when they're telling me that they spend $6,000 or $7,000 on one seminar for a mailer, I'm like, man, you probably get the same results, even if you spent half. Even if you had to spend $4,000, right? You're still saving $2,000. And
think about this logic. Think about this logic. Someone says, I want to do a seminar, and the mail house says, okay, what do you want for your income range? And usually what people will say, well, I want people over 200 or asset range. They'll say, I want people over 150,000, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. But then people complain when they don't have good quality. So it's like, so if you don't want that quality, like if you don't want the 150, then why are you even marketing to those people? So take those out. Like if I were to do a mailer again, I would just go after people with $500,000 or more. Well, why don't the mail houses want to do that? Because they know they're not going to have as good of a show rate as good of a response rate if those are the only ones you're focusing on, right?
Yeah.
So then what happens is you're not happy because you don't have enough attendees. Well, the one thing that we do, not that it's going to get even better, is when someone tells me that I remember this Mark, he told me this at a seminar. After he did a seminar, he goes, everyone there was trailer trash. I'm like, come on. There's no way everyone there was trailer trash. It was at a library. So we ran through our program, and it told us who has money and who doesn't have money. I go, Mark, look at all these people that have money. Many people ultra high net worth, which means $3.5 million or more. Many people that are high net worth, which is $1 to $3.5 million. So the funny thing is he has another meeting that night with a guy with 1.6 million, calls me back, says, you know what? I just had a really good meeting. I'm like, okay. And he goes, I'm sorry.
That's hilarious. He's got to
So
read the millionaire next door.
Yeah, he wrote a $700,000 annuity, and this is the guy that he shares the AUM with me. So that after he wrote the $700,000 annuity, he set me up with the guy, and we did $900,000 under management. I'm like, remember, trailer trash. This is trailer trash. That's all there's there. So it's not. I will. If you ever question, I will be able to prove it that there's good quality there. So, I know it's all about our egos. I know we get so focused on, I shouldn't do seminars during the summer months. And if you don't want to do seminars, great. It's only better for me, for my financial planning firm for sure. But make sure you're staying away from holidays. Make sure you're getting all the data, like you were saying. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think those are the key things. I think maybe in another podcast, because I know we're running short of time, even though we promised this one would be shorter. But maybe we'll talk about ad copy and stuff like that. Because what you say, how you say it, how it's written. I know we reviewed other people's, but maybe in the future we kind of go over like how we write ours. The cool thing is I get to use Vincent. He writes really good copy, so makes our ads even better performing. But those are the key things. If you're going to start on the demographic ad sets, just focus on those. It's really the three main things. So three key things is radius, lookalike audience, and make sure there are pixels on there. That's it. I mean, and then age group. That's going to depend on who you're targeting. I know some people like to target younger, some people like to target older. Just focus on them.
Perfect, man. Well, I think this is it for today. I think we can talk more about the funnels next week, and we can show our ad copy too if we want to give our secrets, although I've taught people on how to do it already, so it's really not much of a secret. It's just the hard part is getting this all together. So, when I first was trying to do this, I'm like, I'll just need to create some ads. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, I got to update every month, and I got to update all the automations, I got to update all this. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is way harder than I thought. So it's as much as I'd like to, pretend I eventually would want to, at one point I was like, I want to do this on my own. No, I'm just better off just being with people and being in revenue generating meetings, which I hope that most advisors would like to think the same. Yeah. So if you guys have a chance, go check out our YouTube page. If you're check us out through the podcast, the email. Thanks for listening. And then if you do have any questions, as always, reach out to us, or you can go to mastermindadvisor.com.
Yeah, let's try something too. I think we're getting to the spot where we can actually, if you go to our YouTube channel and you write a comment, just ask us a question. If there's something that you have a question that you want Vince and I to cover, just put a comment on YouTube. We'll look at it. Maybe we'll make a podcast on that. If you're listening to our podcast and you want to ask us this question to like, hey, let's go over this in marketing, or I have this question on what I should do, just shoot us an email too, support@mastermindadvisor.com. Our team will look at it. We'll put a list together, and maybe we can make those a future podcast as well. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind too. We'd love to hear from you guys and get your guys' feedback on this was helpful. Can you cover this? What I liked about it, what I didn't like. Any feedback you guys can provide, man, it'd be awesome. Greatly appreciated.
Yeah, appreciate it. Awesome, man. Well, have a happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Make sure you take care of those kids so your wife doesn't have to.
Yep.
I'll do the same.
I think that goes for every advisor out there. Hopefully you guys have a good Mother's Day, and I better go shopping ASAP because that came up quick.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going racing on Sunday, so I had to do everything for Saturday. So.
Oh, there you go. What a lovely wife you have to allow that. Day at the racetrack.
I made it up. On Saturday. So
there you go.
I'm gonna be. I think I'm okay anyway. She doesn't listen to this podcast, so I'm good.
There you go.
Not yet, anyway. All right, man. We'll see you next week.
Likewise. See ya.